Hey y'all, welcome back. I am music journalist Thomas Mooney. This is episode 225 of New Slang, and this time around I am joined by Texas songwriter Hayes Carll. This interview with Hayes was yet another one of these that was recorded during Cotton Fest over at Cook's Garage this year. Hayes, Ray Wylie Hubbard, and William Clark Green, they played an acoustic song swap on Thursday night to kick off this year's Cotton Fest. And luckily for me, a couple of short weeks later, I was able to see Hayes again in a intimate acoustic song swap, this time with Evan Felker of Turnpike Troubadours on the first night of Woody Fest. Which maybe there's some recency bias here, but that I think was right there in my top 10-ish shows that I've ever seen of all time. It was just incredible. Just two great artists trading songs and stories for about 90 minutes. Which I think it's already sold out, but I'm sure you can find tickets somewhere online. But Evan and Hayes are doing that again on August 21st up at Kane's Ballroom in Tulsa. If you've already gotten those tickets, you're in for a real treat. And speaking of August dates, Hayes is releasing his new album, We're Only Human, at the end of this week. That would be Friday, August 8th, for y'all listening somewhere in the future. If you're a guy like me who loves vinyl, I encourage you to go ahead and get yourself a copy of that on vinyl. During this episode, we talk about the new album as well as his most recent collaboration with the Band of Heathens, the aptly titled Hayes and the Heathens. We go into songwriting and living in Nashville and a lot of catching up on this episode, so you guys are in for a real treat. I do want to note that there is a sound check in the very first of the episode, but it's very, very brief, and I cut out all the actual sound check part of it. So just a note, it's only in there for a little bit of time. Something I wanted to mention is that I've gone ahead and started up a new Substack. It's called Tom Mooney's Almanac. I'll be covering a range of topics over there, but you can certainly count on there to be plenty of talk about country music, both new and old, West Texas, some good old vinyl talk, and really whatever else that piques my interest. That'll probably be storytelling and barbecue and Tex-Mex and my favorite short stories that I've read and my current reading list, stuff like that. One of these series that you'll definitely see over there is my current obsession. I've dubbed it the West Texas Historical Marker Appreciation Society. Shout out Drew Kennedy and Josh Grider for that one. So I'm pretty much determined to visit each and every historical marker out here in West Texas, and yeah, I'll be posting updates on each of those as I mark them off my list. The first in the series is up and focuses on just this one marker between my hometown of Fort Stockton and Grand Falls, which if you're unfamiliar with where that is exactly, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's just south of Odessa Midland, north of the Big Bend area, and about halfway between San Antonio and El Paso. So yeah, pretty much, again, in the middle of nowhere. Go over and sign up for Tom Mooney's Almanac if you want to read about that and a lot more going forward. I'll throw a link into the show notes. Out here, style tells a story. When you throw on something from OG Lone Star, you're not just wearing a shirt or just a cap, you're wearing a Texas anthem. It's tried and true. That's why New Slang has proudly partnered with OG Lone Star, Austin-born, Texas-bred, and officially licensed by Lone Star Beer. If you go on over to oglonestar.com or head on over to their Instagram at OG_lone_star, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It's fresh vintage-inspired t-shirts, retro trucker caps, satin jackets, and a whole lot more. Whether you're walking into a place like the Blue Light Live here in Lubbock, the Continental Club over in Austin, or Cheatham Street Warehouse down in San Marcos, you'll stick out in the best of ways in new Lone Star gear from OG Lone Star. Whether you're a wallflower like myself, a two-stepper out on the dance floor, holding court by the bar top, wherever really, you'll feel right at home in vintage-inspired gear by OG Lone Star. All those links, they will be in the show notes. Again, that is oglonestar.com. All right, let's get on into this episode. Here is Hayes Carll. Not to just, focus on last time you were here in Lubbock stories, but one of the other things I was thinking about whenever you were announced to play this was after that first time I interviewed you, you were playing at Blue Light, basically, and backstage, or like not backstage, because it really isn't backstage. You know, it was like out in the patio area. Yeah. This guy came up to you and he was like, "Man, this is the second time I saw you play, and you're just as great this time as the last time." And you were like, "Well, where did you see me play?" And he was like, "It was some place like in Floribama on the coast, beach place." And you were like, "I don't think I've ever played there."
Yeah.
And he kept on saying, yeah. And this is going on for like 30 minutes. I feel like he'd come back and say, "No, you don't remember, blah, blah." And we were talking and you were kind of doing the, well, hell, maybe I did play that place, and just kind of creating that memory out of thin air. And then before the end of the night, he came back and said, "Oh man, you're right. It was not you. I was confusing you and Zach Brown."
Yeah. It's easy to do, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it's funny. That happens a surprising amount, and people are so certain. I had a guy one time come up and tell me that I'd played his wedding. And I said, "Oh, okay, well, you know, I do forget a lot of gigs. I played thousands of them, but you know, if you give me the background, I can usually piece it together." And
right.
And I said, "Well, where was it?" And he told me some city that I'd never played, and he told me a song that I sang that wasn't mine. And I said, "Man, I think you got the wrong guy. I hate to tell you this because it was your wedding," but he was just adamant. And so I find more often than not, it's just the easiest route is to just say, "Oh yeah, that was great. Good to see you again."
Yeah.
Rather than argue with them, because, yeah, we'll let them figure it out on their own if they figure it out at all.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like you're destined to always have great fans, and like the fans who, you know, at the merch table saying that you played their wedding.
Well, I think people drink a lot.
Yeah.
That's
it's
more than anything else. Because, yeah, I think
that wedding, whatever wedding that was pretty much a party.
Yeah, it left an impression on that guy for sure. Just not on me because it didn't happen. But, yeah, but you know, we all kind of make up our stories as we go to some degree. And I can't begrudge them for thinking something happened that didn't, especially if they have a good memory of it. I always get nervous. Well, these days, like, people will come up to me and they'll say, "Hey, you know, we hung out 20 years ago," and I'll get anxious because, you know, I'm not sure how I was behaving 20 years ago. And I'm always relieved when they say, "You were cool," or, you know, we had this good experience. I'm waiting for the time somebody says you were just a complete ass and I need to come 20 years later and tell you that. But
yeah, I feel like I've never played shows or anything, but I get that anxiety too of like,
yeah,
man, you know, was I an asshole? Because, you know, I'm a pretty quiet guy overall, but like, did I come across as cold just because I couldn't remember your name 5 seconds later, you know?
Yeah.
But speaking of like that aspect of like playing a million shows, do you still get nervous before a show, or is that kind of always, has that kind of gone? Because I get nervous before even doing an interview.
Yeah.
Still.
No, I still deal with nerves. It depends on the show, you know, like we just did a run with Tyler Childers, and that was 16,000 people a night. And we were playing in Vegas for one of them. And, like if something's with my band and it's something that, if I'm not on an island, I do okay because I've got support. But if there's a song where it's like it's all on me and it's just the lyric, remembering the lyric, I can panic sometimes. And we're in Vegas, and I mixed up the set list to do this song real early on before I got comfortable, where I was just singing in front of 16,000 people, and it was going through my mind like, okay, what's going to happen here if you don't remember the lyric, which has happened many times before.
Yeah.
So I tend to get nervous on one-offs, Like if it's a TV show where I'm just doing one song, or an award show, or if somebody has me up as a guest, that's when I get nervous, because my own shows, I've usually got, one, there's some goodwill. Most of them know me. And two, you can build up a rapport where at a certain point you can forget the lyrics and it's okay. You can make a joke out of it. And, the times I get nervous are the one-offs where it's not my fans per se. If I'm on a TV show, if I'm on the radio, or an award show, or somebody brings me up as a guest, that's when I'm nervous, because you only have one shot, And so, if you flub it, you just flub. You're just the guy who wasn't good. But if it's my own show, I feel more relaxed, because if I mess up, I have time to win them back.
Right.
Or can become part of the thing. You develop a rapport with the audience over the course of the show. And, so I'm more comfortable in that situation. I'm also more comfortable where I can see people. When I start getting into the really big crowds, it's a different energy, and it can be like an out of body experience sometimes, and not in a great way.
Yeah.
It's just, you're just like hanging on and praying.
Yeah. That's like, obviously I've never been in front of a big crowd or anything like that, but I do imagine that it is one of those where, obviously there's a difference between playing in front of, 100 people and 300 people, 500 people. But then when you're getting up into where you can't really see anyone out in the audience, and it's just, but you just feel all those eyes, that probably is nerve-wracking.
Yeah, well, it's just a matter of connection. Whereas, I came up in listening rooms and dive bars, and they're different kinds of shows and audiences, but what they have in common is I can see what's going on. I can read the room and get a sense of where people are at and where I'm at. And it's easier to kind of feel like you have some control over the situation. And that you're connected, you're having a conversation in a sense.
Yeah.
It's fun to play in front of a bunch of people. It's just not my comfortable spot. And I'm not quite sure am I supposed to do a move here? And like, it's like, I'm not sure what works.
Yeah.
I don't have enough experience playing in front of the massive crowds to really know what to do.
Is part of that like simply because like the stage is literally bigger?
Yeah, that's part of it. I mean, I always try to have my band close to me, because sometimes they'll give you a big stage and they'll try and maximize it and they'll spread you out. I'm like, if my guitar player is 20 feet away, that's a problem, because I have no connection with him at all. And so I like to have my guys close, so that at the very least we can just put our heads down and play off each other and block everything else out. I
can't remember where I was reading it. It may have been like Texas Monthly or Texas Music Magazine. They talked about that kind of being a problem, that transition between the like the big Western swing days, where like these bands were massive, right? You got like a couple fiddle players and just all the equipment's bigger. So the stage would be bigger for these cotton club type of places. And then, transition into the 70s where Waylon Jennings got it's 4 people up there on stage, and just the amount of space on the stage made them uncomfortable. And they would kind of do the same thing as far as, get closer to one another on stage, even though there'd be a lot of emptiness on the stage.
Yeah. Yeah. I think first and foremost, everybody's different, and most people there's a lot of people who have had way more success at that than I have. But, I believe when all else fail, or when in doubt, just get to your comfort zone and do the thing that got you there in the first place, rather than try to turn into something else now that you have a different audience, because I think that can be a disaster. And that's when the anxiety kicks in, is like, you're doing something you're not practiced at doing, that you don't have experience doing, that you don't know if it actually works doing. And so that can make you feel a little adrift.
Yeah.
So I try to come back to, okay, this is what I do. Tell stories. I'm a songwriter at the heart of it. And whether I have 20 people on stage or there's 20,000 out front or 20 in the audience, it's at the end of the day, the only reason I'm here is because I wrote these songs, and I need to just figure out a way to deliver them as true to myself as I can. And that doesn't mean making up a new line dance, in the moment.
Yeah.
It's just not going to go well.
How does that apply to record making as far as, wanting to sound and make a new record, wanting to progress, wanting to do a certain thing, but then also kind of reminding yourself like, well, if you get stuck or something, this is what got me here. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The record making process, I think, is an opportunity to, it's not so much like I'm leaning on what got me there, because you are trying to evolve sometimes, or trying to go for something different, or you're just in a different place creatively and have different intention. So what worked for you the time before isn't necessarily the formula for what you're doing then. I found that I put a lot of pressure on myself in the studio, because it's something that lives forever. It's not just a moment, and it can affect your life and your career, and it can be the thing you're remembered by. And if I think about that, then that's not the best place for me to be. What I find is having an intention when I go in, being present for it and accepting that it is what it is. I can always go back and say, this isn't going to make the record, or I want to add something to it. But I don't want to, as I'm recording, be thinking about anything other than what am I trying to do creatively here, regardless of any, or in spite of any outside opinion. I can't try not to factor that in too much. My first record, I recorded at Pertinalis with Willie Nelson's studio. And the engineer there was a guy named Larry Greenhill, who had worked with Willie for 20, 30 years. And I remember they played back a track, and I heard myself, and I was like, wow, it's different. Sound different in the studio than when I'm playing live. And he said, well, that's why they call them recording artists. And just thought there's a different energy and a approach to being in there. But to me, it's about exploration.
Yeah.
And just being in the moment and trying to chase down the thing that you're looking for that makes you feel good, and you record it. And you may have a different opinion the next day, but it's why it's called a record. It's a recording of that moment and that time, and all you can do is be as true to yourself as you can in that moment.
Yeah. So I think, like most people, myself included, I would probably have like a very difficult time trying to relay the message of like, this is what I have in my head as far as what I want for this song to sound like, relaying that to actual musicians and producers and engineers. Is that something that comes with time, or are you ever able to like really figure out how to like relay that message to somebody?
Man, I guess I'm getting a little better at it, but it's not my strength. It's always been a struggle. And so that's why the producer is so important for me, and like having a someone you can communicate with, and that can understand it and then go articulate it to the band for you.
Yeah.
Some guys can come in, run their own shop, tell everybody exactly what they want, and they're really deep in it. I'm not one of those guys. I mean, I have a general sense and a vibe, but I I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not Brian Wilson who has it all mapped out in my head. It's like, there's a lot of instruments I've never heard before, and I didn't know they could make that sound, or this player could do this thing. So for me, it's discovery, and that's why a fair number of my records, I kind of get in and just see what happens, because I can't envision it beforehand. I have the songs, but I don't know what the band's going to do to them. I was solo for so long, and I'm not, really a musician. I pick around on the guitar, but I don't know any theory, and I don't know what's going on beyond that. I just have the stuff I love. So it's always kind of a fun exploration for me. And then you get in there and go, oh, wow, that banjo sounded killer. Let's crank that up. And then let's slow down this drum. And that's a lot of fun for me.
Yeah.
But it really helps to have somebody who knows where your heart is, and can help guide the team while you're making the music.
Yeah. I've asked a couple guys that before, and I always think like, well, the easiest thing to do is be like, I want to make a record like this, and then show a couple of different records. And I don't know if it's because they thought that was like cheating or like too boring of an answer, but they're like, oh, I know, I would never do that. I would never show like, I want to get this sound that so-and-so had on this record, or whatever.
I would.
I know. I feel like that's like the easiest way to.
I've done it. I mean, we're sitting here with like Ray Wylie's downstairs. I remember I made my Little Rock record, and I went in and I was playing the producer, R.S. Field. I said, listen to this. I want this sound. Can we do that? And I mean, it was too much. Like I wasn't formed enough as an artist. Like I literally wanted that exact sound.
Yeah.
And the producer was like, okay, I see what you're saying, but we're not going to just ape his record entirely. But now I definitely, if I hear something I like, it's a good reference point for the producer, for the musicians. And you can say, you can play it for them and really quickly get it across. And some people can articulate it and say, the Creedence drum sound on Fortunate Son, and everybody knows what they're talking about. Again, I'm not one of those people. I have to literally play the thing for you. Other than that, it's just like faster, slower, softer, louder. That's kind of the limit of my production skills.
Your vocabulary of the stuff.
I'm pretty caveman in there.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's how I would be. It'd be like, I don't know how to explain this to you other than, maybe in an abstract way of, which I've heard people say that. Have you ever done any of that kind of like, I want it to be a little bit more, and this is very
blue
simple, or like more sunny or.
Yeah, I don't do that so much, but I have, I've been doing a little bit of production lately with the Heathens, Band of Heathens, and then that gave me some confidence to do it on my own. I still don't have a great vocabulary around the stuff, but I've learned to not be so insecure about it, and to kind of have fun and say, okay, I think I know what would sound better. Let me express it, and maybe I won't do it clearly, but we can get there, and it's better than just shutting up and hoping for the best. And then it's like, it works, and you're like, oh, that was cool. Right. I had an idea, I kind of articulated it, and now that sound came to life, and that's exciting. I see the appeal of production. I don't think I will ever be a producer, but like a legit one. But I do have fun getting to experiment in the studio and work with musicians and kind of see what you can come up with and find the words to chase it down.
Hitting the forgotten pockets of the map, photographer Kat Swansea celebrates the sun-faded storefronts and abandoned roadsides. All but buried by the desert, Kat documents the places we've left behind. Her debut book, Texas Textures, and its follow-up, Texas Textures Volume 2, which was released just earlier this year, are journeys through old ghost towns, rusted-out gas stations, and desert facades. Part memoir and part classic coffee table photography book. Both Texas Textures volumes are the exploration of the dissolving past. They play on the differences between ruins and relics. Often, those are one and the same. If you love grain and grit, hardscrabble beauty, and intimate Texas stories, be sure to head on over to catswansea.com and pick up Texas Textures Volume 1 and Volume 2. That link will be in the show notes. All right, let's get on back into the episode. Yeah, it seems like you are in a kind of a creative space right now as far as at least getting stuff out. You got that new record coming out in August.
Yeah.
You mentioned Hayes and the Heathens. That record just came out last year.
Yeah.
What's kind of been like these last 2 years as far as getting both these? First off, I guess, like, did you already kind of have this record in mind to be already kind of working on that whenever the Hayes and the Heathens record came out? Or because Gordy co-produced the new one, right?
Yeah.
Was that kind of already in the works, or was that kind of just off the?
It wasn't in the works. We did the Hayes and the Heathens thing, and for that we sort of brought in songs and just auditioned them to see. Like, we didn't have much time. The whole band and the project was sort of a lark that we just thought we had a minute, and we're like, let's have fun and enjoy each other's company. We like each other musically. Let's just make this fun little side project. And, but we didn't have any songs. So we kind of brought some parts of songs or finished songs in and just picked which ones we decided to like, to record. But I really enjoyed the process of recording with them, and everybody was kind of a producer on it. And it was just a very freeing creative experience. And then I started thinking, after it came out and we toured it a bit, I started thinking about my own record, and I had a pile of songs. I had some more to write still, but I felt like I needed to get in there and start working. And I was looking at a bunch of different producers. But then I thought about Gordy and how relaxed that was, how fun it was, how creative the vibe was. And so I just thought, let me ask him if he'll work with me. He's got a beautiful studio down in Austin, called The Finishing School, that used to belong to George Reef, a great bass player who passed away. And Gordy took it over and updated it, and it's a really great spot now. And I brought some of my band down, and a couple of the Heathens came in as well, and it was a different process and a different project, but a lot of the same characters involved in it. But no, the Heathens thing, I was very much just thinking on the Heathen stuff, and then on my record I was very much intent on creating a certain kind of sonic and emotional space.
Yeah,
it was very different.
One of the songs that you've released from the new one is that Progress of Man. So when I first heard it, I kind of, in my opinion, there's a little bit of that connection to like a song like Paradise by John Prine.
Yeah.
As far as like the, in Paradise, he's got that line about Mr. Peabody's coal train already hauled away.
Yeah.
And in that connection to Bitcoin and crypto farming, I felt like that's a very much kind of in that same space as far as, new problems, but the same problems. And
yeah, there's something about, Prine was, like a lot of people, he was a major influence, and what I really loved was his ability to get to the heart of something, or get you to feel your feelings, but do it in a oftentimes clever and lighthearted way. And he could tackle heavy subjects that way. And then sometimes he just tackled heavy subjects in a heavy way. But even then, his use of language was really unique, like made up words or a lot of metaphors or analogies that were just quirky, even if they were heavy and not laugh out loud funny or even humorous. There was something really charming about them, and I've just always been drawn to that. So, like on that song, I think there's what's the lyric? With money she got from her third divorce. I just like stretching out that word and turning it into some other word, divorce.
Yeah.
was fun to me. You know, I don't know that anybody else appreciates it, but I got a kick out of it, and I very much was thinking of Prine when I was writing that song. You know, I used to think the lyric was Mr. Peabody's Coltrane. I thought it was a guy's name. It took me years to figure out Mr. Peabody's Coltrane.
Yeah. Yeah,
like John
I think
Coltrane's nephew or something. I was like, I didn't understand it.
Yeah. I think like, and maybe this is because I'm from West Texas, what really connected with me is you mentioned the whole Bitcoin aspects of that. And I think a lot of people don't realize like the crypto farming, there's a lot of these like crypto farms like out in West Texas that are just taking water that it's already not a whole lot of water out here.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same kind of thing of like, just, you know, any place that's good, they end up like people just, billionaires end up kind of, for lack of a better term, ruining in a lot of ways,
exploiting. And yeah. Well, I wish I could say that I was thinking that deeply about it. But I wasn't really thinking about it as a resource, just more of what is the latest thing? What is the new craze? What is everybody into? And, just that idea of there's so many opinions and so many ideas of what you should do, how you should invest your money, how you should spend your life, what you should eat, what you should not eat, how you should vote, et cetera, that it just gets overwhelming. And so but that's, you know, everybody believes they're right.
Yeah.
And we'll argue with you about it. And so it was just kind of a throwing my hands in the air, like, you know, everybody's at each other's throats because they think they know what's best. And I don't think, most of them do. I don't think necessarily I do, but, I'm going to find out on my own, you know? And so it was just for me, a lighthearted way to acknowledge that and then let it go. And it's just a fun song to sing. I love the fiddle and just the overall flow of it. It's kind of got some John Anderson in it, and I dig it.
Yeah. Some John Anderson. Yeah.
Kind of a Wild and Blue thing, which is one of my favorites.
He, I'm kind of, I know I'm going to go on a side note on John Anderson, but like kind of had, you know, a revival there.
Yeah.
With that last record.
The tribute record was,
yeah.
They got some heavy hitters on that. Brent Cobb did Wild and Blue.
Mm-hmm.
It's Sierra Farrell and Gil and Dave, and like, it was awesome. I was glad to see it come together.
The Sierra Farrell version of Years.
Mm-hmm.
I just love I love that version, but also like his version. And I'm kind of just amazed that she did such a new song too. Cause that's fairly new as far as, John Anderson songs.
Yeah.
You know,
it's heavy.
Yeah.
That makes me feel something when I hear her sing it, when I hear him sing it.
Yeah.
But I thought it was cool that she brought it to a new generation.
Yeah.
And a bit wider audience, you know?
No, absolutely.
Which is wild to, you know, as time goes on, you're like, that we need anybody to introduce John Anderson to a wider audience, but then, you know, and you do. And then you have this incredibly talented, you know, rocket career, you know, on a whose career is just blowing up in Sierra, and then she takes it and makes it her own, and I love that combination.
Yeah, I think it's wild introducing someone like John Anderson to a new audience, new generation, but it is funny. Like right now on TikTok, there's this trend of people being like, tell me your, you know, a deep cut from country music. That's the saddest deep cut kind of deal. And, you know, you open the replies expecting there to be like a lot of stuff from the 70s and stuff. And it's like top 10 hit that was in the 90s, like by, you know, a John Anderson or somebody.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, wow. What do you like that? Everyone should know that. Like, but then you realize, oh shit, people were born post 2000, I guess, you know?
Yeah. It didn't stop with us. Yeah. It's funny how it works, and things will become more popular, and you know, I admire the people who have, you know, again, I look at Ray Wylie Hubbard. He's 79, and his career's arguably bigger now than ever in many ways. And, you know, he wrote it out, and he was true to himself and kept his integrity, and you know, became an artist and is still doing it at a high level. And that's inspiring to me and gratifying, because, you know, there's very few people who get to ride the superstar trajectory or even the star trajectory. But I heard Chris Rock say, I think once, talking about comedians, and I'm going to mess this up, and I'm not even sure it applies exactly the same way to musicians. In regards to comedians, he said something like, you know, if you do it for 10 years, you're a pro. If you do it for 20 years, you know, you're, I can't remember the description, but you do it for 30 years, you're a legend, whether you made it big or not. You know, to be able to do your art form in a have that creative pursuit and perform consistently over a span of decades. There's not a ton of people that do it and hang on. And, so I'm inspired by the folks that I saw, whether it was Billy Joe Shaver or Ray. There's so many that just, the highs and the lows, they came and they just never stopped. They just kept making music. And sometimes the careers were in the ditch, and sometimes they were doing great, but they just kept doing their work, and I admire that. Yeah,
I mean, there's, you know, it's so easy to quit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it is so easy to just quit. Well, you know, I've not been able to get anyone out to my show for X amount, or, you know, a couple months. Like, I mean,
or you get a family, and you know, it's like kids. That's not any kind of life to put kids through, or a wife or a husband, and you know, or life happens. People get sick. Like, just, there's all kinds of reasons. This is not a natural profession, you know, like you got to really, really want it, or there's got to be a lot of upside for you in some way. And when there's not that huge financial upside and people still do it, I'm like, I admire and respect folks that just are in it for the love and aren't gonna give up.
Yeah.
You know, and nothing against people that do give up, because it's like, I totally get it. And certainly early on, you know, came close to giving up myself, but I've just been very fortunate that I've been able to kind of keep at it.
Well, you know, I apply it to journalism, where, you know, I've seen a lot of people try and do this, you know, cover music for come in and out, and like they, you know, I don't have the listenership, I don't have the readership.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna stop. And, you know, I always kind of go back and think, like, it is in that whole, well, in 10 years, you're going to regret not doing it. What's the alternative? It's just not doing it. And, you know, you don't want to, I've done plenty of stopping on projects or something, but, you know, at the end of the day, you kind of have to realize in 10 years, you're going to, you know, like the fact that you ended up doing it.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's different, but if that's your passion and your love, then absolutely. And it doesn't mean you can't quit, but like, I tell people all the time, like, if you love it, you got to at least try.
Yeah.
That's the best thing I ever did for myself, was I had no expectation that I would actually make it or be here today and make a living for 25 years now playing music. But I knew that I wanted to find out, and then I didn't want to have that regret. And now if you just think music's cool and it looks fun because that, you know, Jim Bob over there is making good money or getting laid or you know, people are talking about him, and you're like, well, I'd like to do that. And then you go do it and it's not working out and you quit. Yeah, you probably should quit. Cause like if those metrics are what's driving you, then the hard times, you're going to not want to stick around.
Yeah.
If what's driving you is a passion or a love for it, or a lack of ability to do anything else, you know, or some combination.
Yeah.
Which is kind of where I was. Then the hard times come and you just ride them out because you don't have a choice, and B, like you said, what would you rather be doing? But I think there's a lot of folks in all walks of life. You look at somebody else's job and you go, oh, that looks awesome, I'm going to go do that.
Yeah.
But maybe the reason that guy got in that job was because they truly loved it and they needed it like oxygen. Not because of the trappings and the things that came afterwards. You know, that stuff came afterwards as a result of the passion.
Yeah. Was there a moment where you realized that there was a lot of middle ground that, like, because growing up, I think for me, I always thought if you're a musician, you were, you know, that uncle who had a guitar and he could play guitar and he maybe played on Sundays in church.
Yeah.
Or he was George Strait.
Yeah, totally.
Was there a moment like you kind of realized, man, there's a lot of middle ground in there?
Absolutely. It's been fun. I'm doing, I'm on tour right now, the 20-year anniversary of my second record, Little Rock. And for the tour, I just did 6 clubs, 2 nights in each one. And their clubs, 5 of them are clubs that meant a huge deal to me coming up. And so it's like the Old Quarter Acoustic Cafe in Galveston, the Mucky Duck in Houston, the Blue Door in Oklahoma City, the Whitewater Tavern in Little Rock, and Corville's in Beaumont. And they're all listening rooms or just small, you know, music venues. And when I found those rooms, particularly the Old Quarter, that's when I realized there was this whole middle ground, like you said, that there was a Ray Wylie Hubbard, there was a Willis Allen Ramsey, there was a Steve Fromholtz, there was a Vince Bell, there was a Steve Young. There were all these great, and to me, legendary artists that you didn't see on TV. But they had fan bases. They wrote amazing work, and then other stars covered them, recorded them, and so it just became a, hey Ray, we're trying to do an interview over here. If you could just have a little respect for Ray Wylie Hubbard staring me down now. I was just talking about you. I thought I should get it on air. Ray just said he's going to pretend he's not here, and then I'll really look foolish. But yeah, that's when I started discovering, like, and Ray was one of the first people to take me out, Sisters Morales, and they took me to Houston, and they took me to Dallas and to Austin, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, these clubs are everywhere, and there's this whole subculture that's not CMT, it's not MTV, they're not playing to 10,000 people a night, they don't have huge record deals, but it's vibrant and it's alive and it's moving and it makes people feel something, and that's when I thought, oh, okay, that can be a thing, and so that dream of being in the music business felt more real.
Yeah,
because it wasn't just a binary choice of doing cover songs in a bar or having a record deal. You could go play house concerts, you can play small folk clubs, you could do all these things, and that's kind of the middle ground that I lived in for a long time and still do, I guess.
Made for the dance hall, the dive bar, the fire pit, and the front porch, OG Lone Star is your go-to spot to grab vintage-inspired attire and gear. Nothing pairs with a cold, crisp Lone Star beer quite like a comfortable Lone Star t-shirt, a sharp trucker cap, a smooth satin jacket, and a host of other goods by OG Lone Star. Officially licensed gear, OG Lone Star is the real deal. Visit oglonestar.com. Now let's get back into the episode.
I guess this is probably a couple years ago now, but I remember I had a podcast, an episode with Jack Ingram and Bruce Robinson, and Jack mentioned how, and now granted, it's a little bit old, like a little bit more in the mid '90s for when this happened, but he talked about like finding a Bruce record CD and it having like a PO box and sending him a letter to the Robinson boys to see like if they could play. And I'm always amazed by like how we take for granted this cell phone in your hand as far as being able to connect with someone. And, you know, did you ever write a letter to anybody, or did you ever have to like do anything like that
Well, I mean, I met Jack.
Phone calls.
Oh yeah.
Landlines kind of.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I met Jack at the Mucky Duck one night after his show. He had somebody had given him my first record before it came out, and he said he wanted to meet me. And so word got back to me. I didn't have his phone number or anything, but I knew he had a show. So I went to his show and I stuck around. He signed autographs for like an hour. And then afterwards I came and introduced myself, and he sat with me for at least an hour talking about encouraging me and talking about the record business and, you know, this life. And then we would talk on the phone after that. But yeah, it was I mean, I wrote Ray Wylie a letter, a couple of them, I think. And, yeah, I met most people just physically in a club or on tour on the road, but there were definitely people that I, reached out to. Guy Clark, you know, I had to write him a letter to get an invite to his house.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm glad I did. It's those things were meaningful to me to make those relationships, however I did it, but particularly when you kind of, you know how it is, you admire somebody or you want to connect with somebody, and, you know, you lean into it and put the time in to make that happen.
Yeah. With Guy, I obviously like his basement stuff. I guess, is it still like at the Country Music Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Or
I think it's in the basement of the Hall of Fame. His basement is in the basement of the Hall of Fame, but I'm not sure. They may have it out on display. I don't know.
You see these photos of it, and of course, you know, in my head, there's this like romanticism about like how amazing how you could do something like that and have this space. And then I think a couple of years later, somebody had shared photos of it without like the basement without all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And it just being this like really bare room. And you're kind of like,
it's kind of in the suburbs. It was just like a normal house. It's not where you would expect the great Guy Clark to be doing his work, but.
Well, how was I imagine, you know, we talked about anxiety and nerves before, but like that first time you met him and was, you know, had that time to write a song with Guy, were you prepared in a way of like,
no,
never been prepared, or did you just walk in?
I'd never co-written before. On my first record, I didn't have any co-writes. I'd never done it before. And on my second one, I had 3, one with John Evans, one with Ray Wylie Hubbard, and one with Guy Clark. And, I don't remember what order I did that, who came first, but either way, by the time at most I had written 2 songs before I got to Guy that were co-writes. And so I didn't really know how it worked. I mean, I've done dozens, if not hundreds since then, but, so now I know the drill and the highs and lows of it and what you can do. But, then I had no idea really. And I just remember I sat down and he just goes, "All right, kid, what do you got?" And I was like, I didn't know I was supposed to prepare for this. So yeah, it was, fortunately I had a couple fragments of things lying around that in my mind, but no, I was not prepared.
Yeah. I imagine I'd be over too prepared. And then,
well, there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, if I was giving advice to somebody now in that situation or any co-write, it's like, come prepared, especially if it's a big opportunity,
right.
If nothing else, you want to make a good impression. And there's nothing worse than two guys just, or, people sitting there staring at each other, not knowing what to say and not having an idea. And I did that. I went back and wrote a second time with Guy, and that's what happened. We just stared at each other. I think he got kind of annoyed with me because I didn't have any ideas. And I regret that. Like, I had an amazing opportunity and I didn't come in prepared.
Yeah.
So if you get a chance to write with somebody that you want to impress or that it's important to you, do a little work on the front end. And I think you should do it no matter who you're writing with, because you can always just sit around and have a conversation and find something organically, but there are days when that doesn't work. And on those days, you want to have something you can pull out of your pocket and say, well, here's something and give you a path to go down.
So like any young songwriters who are listening to this podcast in the future, if you have the opportunity to write with Hayes Carll, bring something. Yeah. So how do you, like, obviously you mentioned you've written a lot more with a lot more people doing the co-write thing more often now. Do you kind of write all those I guess this is just songwriting in general. How do you decide, like, oh, maybe this is an idea that I can bring to so-and-so because I know that would probably fit in his will? Or does that not even in the...
really, I don't write consistently enough with people to, I'm not often writing with the artists themselves or writing for an artist. I've done some stuff with Brothers Osborne where it's like, okay, we're writing for you guys.
I don't necessarily mean it even in that way though. Like, this is a song about insert whatever subject here. And I know that, like,
who would be a good writer to create it with? Yeah. Well, that's, some people just have a style like that where I know it'll work. Like, if I'm writing something and I've never written with Lori McKenna before, but I'm friends with her and I've toured with her, and she does a thing that I really like. She's not afraid to get super emotional and nostalgic and going on that road. And so if I have an idea like that, I might think, okay, I'm going to save this for Lori when I write with her, or Brandy Clark, or, there's certain people that have a style that I understand well. And so if an idea comes to me, I'll think this could be cool for them. And then there's some that I just think this is a good idea. And next time I'm in a room with somebody and we don't know what's going on, I'll throw it out and see if it catches their ear.
Yeah.
So it's different. Every writing relationship is different for me. It's like some people, they're leading and I'm the editor, and sometimes I'm leading and they're the editor, and sometimes we're writing off a title, and sometimes it's a conversation, and it's an organic thing, and it's all different types of styles. But yeah, I'll definitely every once in a while get a title or an idea and say that I've got somebody in mind I want to save this for.
Yeah, I think Lori, my favorite thing about her writing is that she makes you feel like the passage of time better than a lot of songwriters. And it will happen like where it feels like within one line, she can sum up like how 30 years feels passing by, or like 2 seconds, or like and there's something about her writing where you just feel like, I don't know, she has her finger on the dial of like how much time passes by within a song and how much you feel that weight of a decade snapping by, and that's, I think, my favorite quality of her songwriting.
Yeah.
And I guess like the emotional weight that's attached to time passing by.
Yeah. She's sentimental and is not afraid to lean into it and mine it, which I love, and doesn't do it in a corny or hokey way, but it's real. You know, she has 5 kids. She's watching them grow up. She's had parents and a marriage and friends and a very full life. And she documents not just the life, but more significantly, the emotions that took place, the lessons learned, the memories in context of all that. I really respect her as a writer and a person.
Yeah. I meant to ask us 2 seconds ago, but tie it back to Guy Clark for a second. When you were sound checking, you were doing You Can Have It All. And in that song, you mentioned the Guy Clark, You Can Have My Old Guy Clark cassettes, right? Now, I'm assuming at least it's partly Guy Clark cassettes that are like his records, but are you also talking about like, do you have any old Guy Clark work tape kind of stuff? Or is that no?
God, I wish I did. Wish I did. Yeah, I don't even think I had an iPhone the first time we wrote together, so it wasn't like I don't remember how we recorded stuff. The actual lyrics, I wrote that song with Craig Wiseman, who's like the most, I heard a stat the other day, he's the most played country songwriter of all time on radio. And I had this idea, just that you get it all my this, all my that, all my this, all my that. And he really helped me kind of craft it into something with a heart and a more than just a back and forth word exercise. He helped me with that chorus and the cassettes line, I think, was his. And it was just kind of a rhyming thing, and also just to show a little bit about the character. And then I had this funny thing where a couple years later, I didn't think I actually owned any Guy Clark cassettes. I didn't think I had anybody's cassettes. And a couple years later, my mom called me and said, "You got this box of stuff here in the house, and we're moving, and it's time, son. You know, time to get your shit out of our house." And so I went and picked it up and I went through it, and sure enough, there's a Guy Clark cassette in there, and that made me feel really cool to have written it, and then it turned out to be true. But no, I didn't record anything. I sent him something once, and I don't remember how I did it, if it was a tape or a CD. But this first song we wrote, I remember I sent him, because at his house we'd started the song, and we wrote it basically to Live Is to Fly. The melody, it was just da na 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 da na 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 da 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 da. I was kind of, I didn't know what to say, because I was like, man, we're right on top of towns here, and but we had some lyrics. And so I took it home and I just put it in a minor key, and it kind of opened up the song in a different way, made it feel like something original. And so I recorded it and sent it to him. And I remember he called me. I was staying at a hotel in New Braunfels, and he called me, or I called him, and we ended up, he was giving me notes on it over the phone and changes I should make. And, but I don't have that tape, and I don't think I have any recording of us playing together.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things, we'll end it here on this kind of this question here, but you know, we think of guys like this prolific songwriter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great wordsmith. One of the little things that I think is kind of a cool thing that he did is, you know, he made guitars, right?
Yeah.
And he's not necessarily like this known prolific guitar maker, but you know, I think probably making a guitar is one part on the mechanical side, but it's also an art to it. Some of these other guys, some other examples I would throw out there is like Terry Allen. You know, he's not just a songwriter, but sculptor,
artist,
painter, right?
Yeah.
Joey Lee's written some books and stuff,
yeah.
Playwright kind of stuff. Have you ever dabbled in any of that other kind of world as far as getting artistic expression out that's not through the lens of a song, even if it's not for mass consumption?
Yeah, I mean, I write some. And initially, when I was younger, I thought I would want to be a playwright or an actor or something, just some kind of creative pursuit. And then I thought, well, I want to be a writer, like a novelist. And I realized I have attention issues, and a 3-minute song is not only incredibly moving to me, but a whole lot easier to write than a novel. But I like the idea of, there's two parts to this. The stuff that I write mostly is just sort of recollections of my early life or experiences on the road. That's easy for me. It happened. There's characters there. To me, it's funny or interesting or, but it's a form of journaling. And then it's just, one step above that. I just write what happened and then go back and try and polish up the characters so they're more descriptive and come alive. But I was just listening to like James McMurtry's new record today. And I've talked with him a little bit about songwriting, and I've heard some of the interviews he's done about songwriting. And I like the idea. I don't do it often, but it's something I'm thinking about trying to do in the future, of creating the character, and whether they end up in a song or not, writing the story that song could come from. So I think if I did lean into another creative outlet, it might be like short story writing, somewhere between memoir and short story writing. I don't really have any artistic ability, and as far as drawing or painting or anything like that. And that's something like a lot of guys like Terry Allen and that they lean into. But and the thing with Guy, and I know a lot of folks, is use a different part of your brain. So I think Guy would say like the guitar making is a tactile thing. It's something you put your hands on it, sculpting. It's art, but you're using your body in a way that you're not in songwriting, and it helps balance you out, because it can get crazy making living in your head all the time. Yeah. And it's good to have, whatever you do, to have something to balance that out, and you can not be stuck with yourself all the time or in yourself.
Yeah. I think the term a lot of people use now is grounding. Yeah. Yeah.
That's real.
The tactile aspect. Yeah, that's one of those things where, and I'll actually end it on this part, because I actually wrote it down too, was your song "To Keep From Being Found." Mm-hmm. I feel like that's a very grounding song in those mentioning of, like, specifically in that line about the keys. Yeah. Like a real key versus like a piece of plastic. Yeah. Yeah. And like those, I feel like that song is a lot of physical things in there, the beer and the cigarette and the truck and the hotel and the TV and the key and all that. Yeah. Yeah. Those little kind of small town, I feel like those are kind of disappeared. Those kind of hotels. Yeah. Real hard to find now these days. But, I grew up in Fort Stockton, and one of those little deals rabbit holes I went down for a while was like looking up old postcards from Fort Stockton, and all of them are all those like roadside hotels that just like look super cool. And now you see them now and you're like, oh, you guys filled the swimming pool up with caliche dirt because it was easier. But
some of them haven't aged too well, but there's something about a rotary phone or an actual key or a phone book, or these days everything is in your cell phone, and it's this computer that's has more information than anything we could have imagined. Yeah. But I had an encyclopedia set, and that was like okay, if you want to learn it, you go pull it out, look under the letter, and then you write a report on it. And, so it's a different thing. I mean, I'm all for the evolution of technology and information gathering and sharing. But there are some things that I miss that are like that the tactile and the connected and the grounding element to it. So you're not just living in your head,
Yeah. It's very, very easy to do that in 2025.
Yeah, for sure.
Hayes, it's been great talking with you.
Yeah,
Hopefully
you
we can do this another time, another day.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right, that is it for this one. Big thanks to Hayes. Be sure to check out his newest album, We're Only Human, out August 8th. Go and visit our presenting partners, OG Lone Star. Check out Texas Textures Volume 1 and Volume 2 by photographer Kat Swansea. And go subscribe to my new Substack called Tom Mooney's Almanac. And yeah, we'll see you next week for another episode.